If you want to learn everything about the DC Extended Universe, be sure to watch the video. Well, hello there, Spider here. You asked for it and you will get it. Today we'll be looking at the DC Extended Universe Iceberg. Be sure to watch until the end if you want to learn everything about these movies, if you love them as much as I do. But before starting the video, give me a like, be sure to click the subscribe button, and leave in the comments your favorite movie from the DC Extended Universe. Thank you so much for watching, and with that out of the way, let's begin! Tier 1. Clear Skies. Release the Snyder Cut was the movement that fans did to get the original version of the movie, the Justice League, which means they wanted to see the movie as the director Zack Snyder intended. After being struck by a personal tragedy, Zack Snyder had to leave the job as director and someone else had to replace him. Although we got the Snyder Cut in the end, it is rumored that the original cut was 6 hours long and had more scenes that we'll talk about throughout the iceberg. Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, better known for directing the first two movies of the Avengers, was called by DC to try to do the same for the Justice League, and try to do something to make it good. But regardless of what you think of his version of the movie, he is nowadays better known because of his abusive treatment towards the actors. He did some questionable stuff, and some other that is downright evil. DC Extended Universe Intro. The DC Extended Universe intro might be a reference to the intro of the first Justice League cartoon. Negative reception. It's well known that most movies from the DC Extended Universe have been received by the public with a negative reception. Most of these negative reviews come from the review page Rotten Tomatoes. Martha. Martha is the name of both Batman's and Superman's mothers, Martha Wayne and Martha Kent. It is well known that it was kinda weird that Batman and Superman stopped fighting because of this. This is something that even DC acknowledges as a bad decision.
My mommy's name is Martha too.
The DC Extended Universe popularized Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was already well known by most Batman fans in general, but it wasn't until the Suicide Squad was announced that Harley Quinn became truly popular, mostly amongst young women that saw themselves in the character. Tier 2. The tip of the iceberg. Reshots. There had to be done a few reshots for the Justice League when Joss Whedon directed the movie, but most of these reshots are kinda noticeable. Mustache. When the reshots had to be done, Henry Cavill was filming Mission Impossible, and the contract required him to have a mustache. Warner Brothers offered money to Paramount, so Henry Cavill could shape the mustache, but they didn't agree, so we ended up with Henry Cavill looking funny. Harley Quinn inconsistency. There's an inconsistency in the movie Suicide Squad with the character of Harley Quinn. In the movie, it's mentioned that she helped the Joker to kill Robin, but the writers of the movie also mentioned that after Robin's death, Batman pulled out Joker's teeth, and that's why he uses brackets. But in the scene where Joker and Harley meet for the first time, the Joker already has brackets, so this doesn't make much sense. Cut characters. DC wanted to use more characters in the movie The Justice League, mainly Green Lantern, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and Martian Manhunter, but this idea was scrapped because it would have been too much for the movie to handle. Blaze Comics. In Man of Steel you can see a sign for Blaze Comics, which is a fictional company that exists within the DC universe. Supergirl. A lot of people say that Supergirl already exists in the DC Extended Universe, mainly because in one scene of Man of Steel we can see another capsule open, really similar to the one where Clark came to the Earth. Biblical references. In both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder depicts Superman as if he was Jesus, which is weird. Brainiac. Originally, Zack Snyder had plans of having Brainiac in the post-credit scene of Man of Steel, teasing him as a future villain, but this idea was scrapped because no one was sure of what was going to happen in the future with these movies. Tier 3. Below the surface. R rating. Originally, Zack Snyder wanted to make the DC movies R-rated, but this idea was scrapped because DC thought that this will affect their box office. However, the Snyder Cut is R-rated, and the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman is R-rated as well. And I almost forget to mention the Suicide Squad directed by James Gunn, so that is something, I guess. The Snyder Cut was leaked. The Snyder Cut was released on HBO Max on March 18, 2021, but it was leaked by accident by HBO themselves. If you played the movie Tom and Jerry, the Snyder Cut played instead, which is funny, I think. Bureau Pictures. After his version of the Justice League was modified, Zack Snyder released some pictures of the cut content of his movie in his Bureau account. Most of these pictures are things that appear in the now released Snyder Cut. Wayne Enterprises logo in Man of Steel. In the movie Man of Steel, when Superman is fighting Zod in space, you can see the logo of Wayne Enterprises on a satellite. The funny thing about this is that Zack Snyder puts this Easter egg here without knowing that the next movie was going to be Batman v Superman. Batman killing rule inconsistency. In the episode 4 of Peacemaker, an old man and our main protagonist have an argument over Batman being a coward because he doesn't kill his criminals. But as far as we know, in this universe, Batman does kill. So, this is pretty much an inconsistency, or a discrepancy if you will. Batman cursing. In this universe, Batman curses a little. Mainly in Batman v Superman he says
Oh,
and in the Snyder Cut,
make no mistake, I will kill you.
this is something that annoyed some Batman fans because in the comics he never swears, but personally I don't care. Blue Batman. In some promotionals of the Justice League, Batman's suit appears to be blue, although in the movie is black. I think that this is meant to be a reference to the time when Batman's suit had blue parts. Unused white bat symbol. One of the promotionals of the Justice League has Batman with a white logo instead of black. This was only used in this poster, and it is unknown why they did this. Dick Grayson. The Robin that the Joker killed in this universe was Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. We know this because we have a picture of his grave, and it was confirmed by the writers of the movie. Ben Affleck's The Batman. The Batman was originally going to be a movie taking place in the DC Extended Universe, starred by Ben Affleck, and the main villain was going to be Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello. The script was written by Ben Affleck, and it was going to be directed by him as well. But because of a lot of personal problems, Ben Affleck left the job of director at first, and eventually abandoned the project entirely. Matt Reeves had the script that Ben Affleck wrote, and he liked it. He says that it was a lot like a spy movie. But eventually Matt Reeves decided to do something completely different and set the movie in a different universe. It was the best decision, to be honest. Tier 4. The bottom of the iceberg. 2-hour mandate. Zack Snyder wanted to make longer movies, mainly Batman v Superman and the Justice League, but Warner didn't want that because they thought that people weren't interested in watching longer movies, putting Zack Snyder a 2-hour mandate, meaning that movies couldn't last more than 2 hours. Watchmen reference. There are 2 references to Watchmen in Batman v Superman. One is when Lois Lane is in her apartment, you can see the comic in the background. And the second is when Batman and Superman are fighting. You can read the phrase, "Who watches the Watchmen?" written in Latin. Silas Stone. Silas Stone is Cyborg's father. In the cuts that was released on theaters, he just had a couple scenes and we didn't know more about him. But a big change that the Snyder Cut has and the theater version doesn't is that we actually see Silas Stone die in a tragic scene that gives more depth to the character of Cyborg. The Riddler. The Riddler was going to play a big role in the future of the Snyderverse. He was going to help Batman to find the anti-life equation to defeat Darkseid. But these plans are most likely cancelled. Green Lantern. There's a deleted scene that doesn't even appear in the Snyder Cut, where the actor, Wayne Tickar, plays Green Lantern. But this scene was deleted and we don't know exactly why. Steppenwolf design. Steppenwolf has a different design in both versions of the Justice League. This is one of the only things that I prefer from the theatrical cut. The Snyder Cut version makes me feel kinda uncomfortable. It has a lot of detail. Arrowverse. The DC Extended Universe and the Arrowverse had a small crossover. In an episode of The Flash in the crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths, we can see Ezra Miller's and Grant Gustin's Flash interact, which is great. Ezra Miller controversy. Look guys, when I was recording this video, something really bad about the Ezra Miller situation happened, and I really don't wanna talk about that because it might get this video demonetized, so... Guys, look! A birdie! DC merchandise inside the DC Extended Universe. In the movie Shazam, there's a scene where you can see that the store is selling figures of the Justice League made by DC Comics. This is just meant to be a small Easter egg, but some people made a theory, and that is that these toys were made by Wayne Enterprises. That is a cool theory, but it will put Bruce's secret identity in danger if you think about it. Tier 5. Shallow Waters. Unreleased films. After Man of Steel was released, DC announced all of their projects that they had planned for the future. The thing is that most of these movies never got made, and some of them never will. It's kinda sad if you think about it. Christopher Nolan. DC wanted to use the Batman version from Christopher Nolan's trilogy in the DC Extended Universe, but Christopher Nolan refused. They also offered him the job as director of the DC Extended Universe, and he refused as well because he didn't want to keep making superhero movies. In the end, his only involvement in these projects was as executive director in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League. Zack Snyder never saw the Justice League theatrical release. Yes, Zack Snyder never watched the theatrical version of the Justice League. He was already mad at DC and Warner because he had to do the impossible to introduce a lot of characters in such a short amount of time, and then when he had to leave the job as director, they disrespected his work, changing almost everything. So, not really a surprise that he didn't support that. The Trench. The Trench was going to be an Aquaman spin-off movie where the main focus would have been the creatures of the same name. It is rumored that the main character besides these creatures was going to be Black Manta, but this movie was cancelled. Atlanteans vs Parademons. There's a deleted scene in the Snyder Cut where we would have seen the Atlanteans fight the Parademons, but according to a stunt double that appeared in the scene was deleted because it was too violent. Amber Heard. After Johnny Depp won the trial, it is still unknown if Amber Heard will appear in the Aquaman sequel. Only time will tell. I tried. In the opening sequence of the theatrical cut of the Justice League, we can see a homeless man with a sign that reads, "I tried." Many people say that this is Joss Whedon's way of telling that he tried to make this movie work. Wonder Woman original ending. The movie Wonder Woman was going to be way darker than it is. Originally, Wonder Woman was going to wear the heads of her enemies in her sword, and the final battle against Ares had a more depressing ending, with Diana trying to prove Ares that humans are good while the German soldiers do some horrible stuff, and Diana finally accepting that humans are not entirely good. But all of this was changed. Mortal Kombat. In the movie Shazam, we can see that our protagonist is playing Mortal Kombat, which is funny because he is playing as Raiden and Shazam have similar powers. Injustice. In both Injustice games, you can get suits from the DC Extended Universe as DLC. In the first game, you can get the Man of Steel suit, and in the second game, you can get suits from the Justice League film for Batman, Flash, and Wonder Woman. Tier 6. Dark Waters. Green Lantern History Scene. In the history scene, we can see that a Green Lantern fights against Darkseid, but it was revealed that the Green Lantern that appears in that scene is Yalan Gur, an obscure DC character. Flashpoint will change everything. It is well known that the Flash movie will reset the DC Extended Universe, but we don't know to which extent. We might get a new Batman, a new Superman, and maybe even a new Flash, so we'll have to wait and see. Tie-in comics. There are tie-in comics for both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Even if they are not great comics, they are good collectibles. Sonic killed Harley Quinn. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie and Birds of Prey were released around the same date, and while the Sonic movie was doing good, the Harley Quinn movie was doing terrible. A lot of people blame the Sonic movie for this. And also recently, Morbius and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 were released around the same time again, and the same case, Sonic made a lot of money while Morbius made more billions. So you could tell that Sonic killed both Harley and the Joker. Steppenwolf in Suicide Squad. Originally, the movie Suicide Squad was going to end with Steppenwolf arriving in the final battle, connecting both this movie and the Justice League, but this idea was scrapped. Uncle Ben. There is a reference to Spider-Man in the Snyder Cut, when Superman is fighting against the Justice League and he throws Flash to the memorial. You can see the name of Uncle Ben, Ben Parker. Black Adam. The Black Adam movie has been in development since 2007. It was announced that The Rock was going to be the main character, but since then, this movie has been in a limbo. It was almost cancelled and The Rock was going to appear only as a villain in Shazam, but The Rock didn't want that. It's nice to see that we'll get to see this movie soon as part of the DC Extended Universe. Annabelle. In one frame of the movie Aquaman, you can see the Annabelle doll. Both properties are owned by Warner Brothers. Tier 7. The Abyss. Jared Leto's method acting. As preparation to play the Joker, Jared Leto did some weird stuff to be able to get in character, like sending used condoms, a dead rat, and other stuff to his co-stars that I don't feel like mentioning. Restore the Snyderverse. Restore the Snyderverse is the movement to get Zack Snyder back in charge of the DC Extended Universe, but honestly, I think that people should leave Zack Snyder alone. Robert Pattinson will be the new DC Extended Universe Batman. There are rumors that Robert Pattinson might be the new Batman interacting with the other characters of the DC Extended Universe, and we have some proof to back those claims up. There is a deleted scene in the Batman where we will have seen people dressed as Superman and Wonder Woman, and in the novelization, LexCorp is mentioned. So it might be just a matter of time to see Robert Pattinson interacting with other members of the Justice League. F*** Marvel. In the Suicide Squad premiere, the director David Ayer said F*** Marvel, thinking that his movie was going to do better, to say the least. Snyder Cult. The Snyder Cut is the name of the fanboys of the DC Extended Universe movies made by Zack Snyder. And with this, I don't mean people that just like the movies like me, but people that treat these movies as religion and go out of their way to insult everyone that disagrees with them. So don't get into this rabbit hole, because you might find things. The Snyder Cut trailer 2017. Do not research. There are rumors that the Snyder Cut was completed all the way back in 2017. but Warner didn't like that version and just hired Joss Whedon to make something similar to the Avengers films. Bruce and Lois's children. One of Zack Snyder's ideas for the DC Extended Universe was this one. He wanted that Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane had a romantic relationship and eventually they would have a child. Then, in the second Justice League movie, Batman was going to sacrifice himself to win the battle against Darkseid, and Superman was going to raise Batman's son with Lois Lane, and eventually Batman's son was going to become Batman Beyond. Honestly, this sounds like something straight out of Wattpad. Well, you stayed until the end, and before you leave, I want to give a shout out to some of you. A shout out to Shaban Salam, AJ Gonzalez, Anurag Pak, Marvel 3K, Electro Unofficial, Shai Was Here, Cooper Plays, Kyle Raggett, TFA Studios, and last but not least, Tofu Stack. If you want a shout out in my next video, give me a like, be sure to click the subscribe button, and I will give a shout out to the first 10 subscribers that leave their favorite DC Extended Universe movie in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye!